Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, back with another episode of Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword. On tonight's session, we are actually playing part 3 of our current adventure, lo'laHbe, pagh, nguvwI, which roughly translates to nothing worthwhile is easy. So, we are just getting started with our game tonight, but before we do, we have a couple shout outs that will go in our chat live here on Twitch tonight. And for those of you catching in the archive, this will be mentioned in the description of the video. But in particular, our first shout out would go towards our good friend Joe and both the Overland Gamer Twitch channel and his and the Overland Gamer podcast. Any particular new exploits over with the podcast, Joe?
Currently, we're working on a little side project, so we took a little bit of a break from regular recordings just to get ahead of this little project. But I think we've got some exciting TTRPG stuff coming up with the solo play. I'll surprise everybody, but you can catch up old episodes either on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find your podcast streaming services.
Yep. Very good, very good. Well then, yeah, by all means check them out, and we hope you enjoy that. I think that's all we'll do for the shoutouts. Although, since I did see them here, also be sure to check out our good friends over at Studio Tembo here. They have been also running a long-running Star Trek Adventures game, and did I misspell that name there? Oh, there it is. Yep, there we go. Um, I have completely forgotten everything about the ship and everything. I just remember I was listening to the game last night. There was some hijinks involving one of their Trill crew and the child of a past life. Boy, it must be Europa. Thank you there, Studio Tembo. Um, but yeah, no, Trill shenanigans. Good thing we don't have to deal with that. Is that right, Steven?
What?
We're not dealing with a Trill right now,
No.
uh, but we will soon enough. Anyway, that's provided we can survive tonight's episode, which, when last we left off, uh,
Seemed very distantly possible.
yes. Well, when last we left off, the Yan was in a bit of a predicament. After a mission in the previous system, specifically a job where they had taken on a passenger, a Hemhoch, who identifies himself as Durkir, and disposing of a whole mercenary company in order to do it, the unfortunate casualties that, incidental to that effort was an Imperial refueling station in orbit of a very isolated colony. You've been at warp several days getting away from that place when you found in your path an Imperial battlecruiser, a Korok class vessel, also known among the Klingons, but really this is, if I may borrow a bit of Edge of Midnight lore. Speaking of shoutouts, they it is well known as the D6 as well. Nobody's quite sure where that classification system came through. It's the Vulcans. It was acquired at some point, to borrow our captain's term for it. But yes, you've been staring down a D6 battle cruiser that was set an intercept course. The captain decided it was best to continue on course as if nothing happened, but in the event that they tried to board you or inquire as to your status, that you forge the logs and hide any involvement in the destruction of that outpost. You did manage to actually pull that, and the captain of that ship, nor his boarding team that did eventually stop you, found no signs of that. Uh, However, they've been prodding all throughout the ship. You've had a dozen officers and men on board in going through and inspecting every bit of the ship. The only places they haven't gotten into are the locked rooms, one that contains Dirkir, and the other that contains who we've been referring to as Junior, the mutated clone of your uh, Gorn engineer. Uh, all of this came through, and the captain tried to discern the intentions of the battlecruiser commander, trying to figure out whether he was a man of honor. And it came to mixed results, but things quickly went negative when the battlecruiser captain, Captain Baona, essentially gave you a list of charges that he was finding you and the ship for, Captain, and that the only way to not be repossessed was to either pay a sum of Darsex far larger than anything that you could muster, or to pay a small but still bad set of Darsex along with things you were willing to trade away, like a bit of excess dilithium that had been acquired on a previous mission, but also a considerable number of spare parts and, particularly for the weapon systems, not so spare parts, and some of your crew. The captain did not take this well. Shouting ensued, as is as is the Klingon way, and it escalated to the questions of honor, to which Baona was prepared to issue a challenge to you, Tabak, and you answered that challenge with a disruptor blast to the face. Honor has been upheld, but you realized that maybe you now have a bit of a problem, and that is where we take off with you calling for a medical emergency as you and the D6 cruiser, the IKS Chikros, stares you down. So
Yep.
I think that the most logical place to start would probably be in the medical bay. I'm going to go ahead and move us to that set. Uh, we'll take these two Klingon gentlemen out of here. Would anyone else like to be in the room with Kresik as we start this scene?
Traven's in the room.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
You are right.
Sort of.
Would anyone not horrendously injured and conscious want to be in the room?
Oh, see, now you're just getting picky.
A little bit, yes. Seeing none, we will just proceed on that basis. So let's see here. All right, so Doctor, you, after compiling as much useless information as conforms to the instructions that the quote-unquote inspectors gave you, you've set back to work. I'm sure alternating between a few of your projects, kicking your way past a spent stimulant canister. When the comm line opens, Captain, go ahead and repeat your last line once more.
Krasik, please come to the galley, the mess hall. We have a medical emergency.
Should I bring the kit?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Fine.
And
I'll be.
come alone.
I don't trust anybody else to perform medicine on this ship. Of course I will.
Of course you will.
And I grab my kit and I head out the doors.
Indeed. It is unusual to you, as you know that a few other officers, and quite possibly the GM, has often used the galley in place of the mess hall, and that the captain would be the first one to correct them. The captain is obviously not given to outward displays of fear, but the very slight slip-up and the otherwise conciliatory tone maybe gives you the slight hint of something very much strange about the situation.
Something very much normal about the crew of this ship.
Yes. And so you take you take the steps from the med bay on the crew deck, uh, whether going by lift or by one of the gangways. You have options, though. Your 8-foot tall. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the Gorn probably use the elevator an awful lot.
Yeah. The gangway is in all likelihood taking the elevator up through the main corridor, and after finding I believe Dakoth, the captain's pagh bodyguard, the same ridgeless style of Klingon that he is, allows you to pass with your medical kit. Tell me, Dakoth, are you also? You see the doctor has come in, and unless the captain
With
says
full
otherwise,
medical gear.
yep. Unless the captain says otherwise, then there hasn't been any sort of alert to you.
I'm the other guard, the other cleaning crew's still outside the mess hall, right?
I think that those guards had momentarily left, or I'm trying to remember exactly.
I'm okay with this.
They had moseyed on. Yeah, the only one outside the door is my bodyguard.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd speak. I'd step in. Yeah. Dakoth would step in.
Okay. So the three of you then enter the mess hall.
3.
Two,
Two.
right?
Yes.
Okay,
There are
hold on.
three people that are alive.
This is true. What kind?
Close the door now.
Oh, I closed the door. I think I brought the wrong kit.
We have an issue.
What happened?
He tried to steal the ship and impugned my honor. So in return, I killed him.
How Klingon?
Did you expect anything different?
No.
That being said, we still have an issue.
A very large issue.
Yes.
I go over to check and see, like, how much is left of this commander? Like, I need to start doing my homework to try and figure out how to do damage control here.
Give me an insight and medicine roll. I'm going to call this difficulty of 1.
While he's rolling,
Insight and medicine?
Yes.
Okay.
while he's
Difficulty one.
rolling,
I'm sure one of my focuses applies.
Absolutely.
while he's rolling, Mr. GM, I have a quick question.
You may ask.
I would assume that we actually have text communications possible to stations.
It is possible, yes.
Okay. While the doctor is examining him, I am going to text to Vopri and see if any of these yahoos are on the bridge.
Okay.
And tell him to respond in kind, surreptitiously if need be.
Copy that. So I will allow that message to be sent freely. Kresic, meanwhile, you manage to lumber over to the corpse of the Klingon commander, Baona.
It smells like bacon. I'm telling you right now, it smells like bacon.
It does. It does.
I'm pretty dang hungry, honestly. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dakoth kind of thinks it sounds like baloney.
Oh dear. Tabak was remarkably effective as somebody who has not had the greatest track record in combat, though it helped that he seems to have gotten off a disruptor blast whilst the other was potentially distracted with possibly threatening him with a blade. You can see the mechleth still just clattered away not too far. The bolt that the captain fired seems to have caught him right where if we zoom in a little bit closer or just momentarily make this token extremely large, let's do that. You will
Oh
note,
no, Mega Klingon.
yes, mega dead Klingon, very dead. This particular dead Klingon, you will notice, because Klingons of this era, it is the canon I've chosen to adopt that the Imperial Klingon fleet all wear the standard sort of very basic armor and a headpiece that seems to suggest the impression of the ridged forehead, even though there are a good number of pagh in the service who do not have that because of their heritage and enterprise-related shenanigans. Uh,
And they have they started in the Klingon fleet to pretty much segregate the Kuha into their own ships,
so
or no?
that's actually an interesting question. I think that from a lore perspective, there are indeed ships that are very heavily pagh and hemhuch. Uh, Not a lot of hemhuch honestly serve in this era, or a lot of the non basically the Imperial fleet proper is very understaffed, underfunded, and it's at its lowest point on ships in proportion to the territory. So much is held by the Great House fleets, whom either constitute the Hemhoch, the more traditional Klingons of the Next Generation era, or those before the Kuvat virus. There are also in those ranks a large number of the Kuch-Kawi, the Klingons of the more Discovery aesthetic, those who've undertaken the first major attempts at not just cranial reconstructive surgery, but genetic manipulation that are actually showing some signs of wiping that away. Basically, as I see it, the reason to explain why you see less of the Koha in the future. Um, but the idea is actually with the choice of uniform that all Klingons wear it, so that none may judge another on their rank or status. And some Klingons can forego the helmet at a certain higher rank. They're regarded as, the thought admirals and higher ranking generals have earned the
Ooh,
right to remove their helmets, basically.
you brought in thought admirals. Very cool. That's a nice reference, sir.
I have a few pulls here and there.
Back in the day before the internet, when all we had were BBSs, bulletin boards, that was my alias on several of the local BBSs around here.
Oh,
That
neat.
many moons ago, I was the thought admiral, and I always had it was a stump the thought admiral with a trivia question, and nobody ever could.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate the pull, but uh, all of this is to say that the angle at which Tabak managed to fire came basically directly through the faceplate, searing the edges and coming up just to where the nose was a little bit exposed, and the the edges of that helmet are charred, if not partially melted down. If you were to remove the helmet, Kresic, you would find that hole pretty much, or that disruptor bolt pretty much went clean through and up the skull, cutting easily through just about the entire back of the brain. The back of the head's blown out. The eyes are probably cooked, if not partially vaporized. It's honestly a miracle the skull is intact as it is. But yeah, you put the helmet on, and maybe if they don't look in the back of the helmet where there's an obvious hole, then you might, for a few seconds from a distance, convince a Klingon that nothing's going on or everything's fine. But there's not a lot to salvage.
Okay, who's our momentum officer for the evening?
That's a good question. Who would like to be the momentum officer for the evening?
I vote Ray.
Yeah, let Ray do it. There we go.
Oh, congrats, Ray. You've been voluntold.
Nope. It's not happening. I don't know how to work it. I'll mess it up. Don't even try.
Oh, well, you can't argue with that logic. Who else wants to be there? Captain, you were saying
Draven?
something.
Let Kresic do it. Let Kresic do it.
Okay, fine.
I don't know. I heard a Traven there first, but Kresic is assenting. So let's.
Well, the captain voluntold him.
Fair enough.
I drew mine.
He.
I drew it.
Very good. The captain's volunteering Kresic for a lot of duties right at the moment. None of them pleasant.
Priestly duty, dead guy duty.
I vote that I don't have to be until I get a main character again.
Okay, true.
That's completely
That's fair.
acceptable. That's fine. Impeccable logic.
All right. So I finished my cursory inspection.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the captain. You should use disruptors more. You're better at them than swords.
I got lucky. I got him in just the right spot.
So, what's your plan?
Mr. GM, has Vopri responded yet?
Let me look, because I got all distracted with my flaring up my lore, and let's see here.
The
So
Thought Admiral is just that powerful.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so officers the remaining Klingons appear to be split currently. Vopri will let you know there are some on the crew deck, specifically near the sealed rooms containing Durkir and quote-unquote Junior. There are a number of them in the transporter room regrouping and preparing to beam back aboard the Chikros. I think possibly waiting on word from their commander. And then there are some still down in the subdeck cargo bay going through your cargo. The bridge is presently free of the Imperial officers and crew.
All right. I'm going to ask Vopri. Ask. You like that? I'm being too human. I'm going to tell Vopri to run a scan on their ship and see how many life forms are aboard. I'm just looking for a general count of life forms at the moment, not specified what kinds of life forms. Because I figured that would be a less intrusive scan than trying to pick up what species they are.
I will actually give you for free that Vopri is able to answer back very quickly. There are just under 200 souls on board. Apparently, he has actually already conducted that. He's apparently already been conducting some sort of scans of the battlecruiser in its time. Above board, we credit this back to Joe's encouragement earlier on, or Azek's readings.
Okay. Can he give me any detailed scans on the ship itself? Issues, problems, broken bits, like weird radiation spikes, power fluctuations. I mean, most of that can probably be done passively.
You get the chat like three like ellipses marks indicating Vopri's typing. No, in all seriousness, I believe that Azek did find out some of that the last time with Vopri's help. Do you want to share?
I didn't. Well, the captain didn't hear it.
Yeah. Let's see. Joe, if you have the notes, do you want to? Well, first off, let's see. I suppose Vopri will continue to maintain K-Fab, unless you were to actually come over and look over his shoulder, then you wouldn't know about this. But if you have the notes, if you want to spout anything off from last time, that.
I don't actually have the notes from that far back, but I believe the engines were running a little off from normal, because I think I rolled enough to where I knew something was off, but I couldn't quite figure out exactly what.
Right, they were having some problems with their engines, if I recall correctly. And was there something wrong with their energy systems? Was there something wrong with the weapons? I can't remember.
The main issues that Vopra was able to spot were predominantly like odd radiation signatures from mostly the warp nacelles, those pods on either side of the ship. Some stuff from around the impulse deck, things that could conceivably suggest technical problems of some sort, but the nature of which Vopri could not determine, nor could Azik without risking a more severe scan. As it was, I think
If
they
I'm
were interrupted by Imperial officers. And go ahead, Kresik.
if I may, real quick, I think what you're thinking about the weapons was that the commander kind of hinted that like they needed more weapons components, which was part of the reason why they wanted to take ours.
Right.
He didn't outright say we need weapon parts, but
Yeah. Again, Sean heard it. Tabak didn't. So I'm just trying to get that information for Tabak.
Yep. Because you were busy at the time when we were trying to tell you about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was having a conference with a now dead guy. What to do?
I will say, just real quick, while I'm not going to impose too much of like a harsh, like literal stop clock, it does occur to you, Tabak, that time is going to be of the essence in this case, particularly because even on your rickety old ship, you know for a fact that Klingon tactical sensors are highly proficient. They may not be the greatest for some sort of scientific and exploratory mission, but a D6 is going to know if somebody fired a disruptor 5 light years away.
Well,
at least a ship-based one.
Only if they're looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't see them worrying about disruptor fire. They would probably maybe think their captain killed somebody. Dakoth, you and Kresik get the uniform off that corpse.
Roger that.
Who's at helm? Is Azik at the helm?
I believe that would currently be Azik and the Nautican
Bahan.
officer. Yes, Bahan. As
Is
presently played by Cheesy.
Okay, is Woe at the weapons station? Or is she stomping around somewhere else?
Vopra is going to send another text. Pretty sure she is stomping. Or he might even just say, pretty sure she's stomping.
Alright.
Correct.
So texting to Azik. There's a nebula nearby. Plot a course. Get ready to go.
Through the other ship or around the other ship?
Don't ask stupid questions. Wait. Ask stupid questions. Around them.
Okay.
Azik just sends back a bunch of emojis.
Oh, Klingon emojis. Yeah, great.
No.
he would be the one who would send the Klingon emojis, though.
Oh yeah.
No.
Raldar. So I text to the engine pit to Raldar and Kelsha. Are they there?
Yeah, I believe that they'd be on station right at this moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Text to them. Are any of these clowns with you?
Yes.
Oh, yes. One subtle change to it. The what appears to be a relatively senior engineering officer has come back to you, Raldar, and is presently around the bay, just looking over what you've been doing with the place.
Looking at all the duct tape.
The cement mixer is broken. I had to make use.
Not the cement mix.
Raldar, how many?
3 that I can see.
Yep. Retroactively, 2 of the officers in the subdeck are 2. We'll add to the retroactive thing. There are 3 in the engineering or in the reactor pit. Yes.
Okay. Back to Raldar again on the text. Be aware, we are going to go to warp shortly. High warp.
Understood.
I will. Okay. I am going to text to Croker.
I knew it. Okay.
The other member of the crew likely to use emojis.
Uh,
The thing is,
get
I
the
think as
salsa girl emoji in back.
yep. Honestly, it might have been some combination of Betty and Azik that programmed them in the first place.
Well, you know it was Betty.
Of
Come
course.
on now.
So I text to Croker to see if any of these guys are with him. I know they are. I want him to tell Tabak that they are. Hopefully.
Half a dozen of them are in the transporter bay, just kind of ambling about. Some on the platform, some not.
Okay.
You get 6 salsa girl emojis sent back.
Go to one of the functioning cargo transporters. When I give the word, oh, and seal the door when you leave the transporter room.
Okay.
When you get to the cargo transporter that functions, lock on to the other guys who are in the engine pit and get ready to just transport them into space.
Oh, thank God we have the same brain. I love that for us. Okay.
I want them out of the engine room.
Yeah, that's fair. Where the
Okay.
hell is Croker? Found him. Alright, what would I need to roll for this little maneuver?
Well, you've got to move downstairs first, so that's going to take a moment here.
I have more texting to do, if I may.
You
No.
do.
My man's about to start the group chat.
Yep.
I'm gonna try to get. Whoa. I'm just going to. I don't know where she is. She's stomping about, not being helpful. I need her to be. I need her to be helpful. Push the little button and say, "Whoa! Please report to your quarters." That is an order. That's an over the speaker system thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured. Alright, whoa, head cocks. She's normally not sent to her room without reason. And a stomping she goes to her room.
Okay.
Kicking every door along the way.
Right,
every door.
And I send her a text that she should see when she gets to her room to respond to my text to let me know she's there.
Yeah, is Woe going to give in to the captain's asinine texting habits?
Woe can't text. His fingers are too big. Come on now.
Fair enough.
He just calls.
Do voice to text. Do voice to text for crying out loud.
You're flying on like a 22nd century relic here, Tabak.
We can do voice to text on my phone.
You can also just accept a phone call, old man.
Yep. Yeah. Whoa, you see the captain is like shooting messages to you. You are alone in your quarters. You may open. You can just go to the intercom if you wish. Lord knows he called you the one time.
Yeah, I'm sure everything's totally fine there.
Fine.
Woe slams the comm panel.
All right, fine.
Kitten?
You don't want to talk. You don't want to text. We'll talk. Fine. We'll make this quick. Croker.
What's going on, Kitten?
Hush. Croker is leaving the transporter room. He is going to lock and seal the door behind him. There are half a dozen officers from that other ship in there. I need you, as my security officer, to dump anesthetine gas into the transporter room.
Okay, Kitten, that shouldn't be an issue. Okay, that's more than fine.
Okay, so you get ready to go do that. Thank you. Do that now.
On it.
All right. So
And there's just a little
that's
beep
6.
of it.
That's
Yep.
6, 7, 8, 9.
And as you have been
Said there were a
texting,
dozen.
you've been texting a little while at this point. The remainder are down in the subdeck where you've just sent Krokar, and I am spending 2 threat as Kresic and probably mostly Dekoth, I suspect, are disrobing this Klingon captain.
Yep.
The wrist piece comes off and it immediately chimes over the comms. Commander Baona, we are preparing to beam up. Awaiting your orders, sir. I've spent the 2 threat to create that the narrative reversal, but Ona's now being called.
Would Azek have noticed the? Well, I guess it would have been Bopry that would have noticed the communications coming in, wouldn't it?
And that's coming to like the little communicator thingy that's like on the upper arm of the.
Exactly. It's a localized thing that Tabak, Kresic, and Dekoth hear. So
Okay.
you could still be involved in the scene with that if you wanted, Joe. It would just be as Dekoth. As a matter of fact, you are the one holding the arm piece right now.
Let's see. There's a part of me that Captain permission to smash.
No, not yet.
Okay.
This is gonna sound bad, and I apologize. Kresic, when I give you the cue, smack the Koth around for a little bit. For volume, I want grunts and smacking noises. Give me the communicator.
How many ribs?
None. Just I don't want him damaged. Dekoth, I'm sorry. Dekoth, I'm very sorry.
Commander Baona, please respond.
Now.
I'm gonna start smacking around. Brace yourself.
All right.
And as soon as the smacking and grunting and crashing starts, I'm gonna push the button and sort of cover my mouth a little bit so it sounds like I'm wearing the helmet. Go! I'm entertaining myself with this fool of a captain. Go! And turn it off.
Just to see how convincing this is, let's see.
Oh, you're gonna make me roll dice, damn you.
Well, it should be a... I think that for this type of... I'll make it a presence and command roll, and I will allow it to be assisted by Kresic's daring plus security.
Since this is a melee attack, and I have applied force, can I use my fitness?
You may.
Because if I kill you, it's nothing personal.
Please kill Dekoth.
3
No,
successes. And Kresic will add 1 more to that. You are having to fool a veteran Klingon warrior, so I have to roll an insight plus security against that in order to see whether or not they accept that. Let's see here. So
if this works, this will be the greatest con of all time.
Security. Don't think they really have an applicable focus here. Okay, that is 1 success for the veteran, which means that you beat them, and you manage to roll 3 successes on that. You get 3 successes over what was required, so Rev, you may draw 3 additional momentum.
Done.
There's a momentary pause whilst the officer replies back. Understood, Captain. Not to say that I suppose that that Tobach was not quite so was not more inclined to complain than you suspected, was he?
Push the button again. Very much so. Go, I will catch up.
Repairing.
And yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead. What's he gonna say?
Yep. Well, we will report back. Kapla.
Kapla! I will try not to catch any bugs. Sign off. All right, you can stop hitting him now, Kresic.
Kresic,
Should
go
I roll
ahead.
damage?
Roll damage.
Oh,
Excellent.
the cough, I'm so sorry.
I'll tell you. Well, so I would give you the option to just make this a shove, but we're establishing that Kresic has had to like actually punch him, which means we do have to count the.
Oh,
I
yes.
think we do have to count it as a strike.
Not a lethal one.
No, certainly
No, it's not lethal.
Yep. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then refresh my memory. Does Kresic does not have any effects to that aside from knockdown?
Just a standard, which is knockdown.
Yep.
So I definitely would knock him down.
Yep. In this case, just to express the sustained punching, you are going to knock him against the wall and kind of like you think of like when a boxer is in a corner, and that's just Kresic kind of wailing on, or not wailing, trying to pull his punches, but still big beefy lizard man on this itty bitty.
As I'm doing it, I'm just like, don't break. You don't want to come back to my medical facilities again.
Yep. Well, that is enough to do 5 points of stress, so that is going to cause a non-lethal injury. Let's see how many ribs.
Oh, Lord.
You break 5 ribs.
That's not bad, honestly.
Damn. The cough, I'm sorry. Kresic, fix him. Text Croker, are you in position?
Let's see. It's actually kind of funny because right as this is going on, back in the transporter room, let me just... oh dear, I need to move just a couple player tokens around.
Yeah, timing is the big issue with all of this, so...
Yeah, sorry, just one moment. I just needed to move some tokens into place here, and so we'll move over to the transporter room set that we debuted last session. So here's that. Isn't it lovely? I like it.
Works. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Croker, you are just about to follow the captain's orders to start moving down when you hear one of the officers say, that captain, I guess, was more given to complaining than you suspected, huh? And some indistinct, muffled voice from the other end. Well, Kapla. You there. You technical officer. Beam us back to the ship at once.
Croker he freezes for a minute, like 1 foot almost out the door. There are some complications. I just need to consult the chief engineer. I will be right back. He salutes and tries to leave.
That's not good enough. You cease and desist this instant. What officer of any honor leaves his post in the middle of his duties?
An officer who is trying not to kill the Imperial guards in his care. You will let me leave my station now.
I think that is an appropriately Klingon response to have the veteran just grumble a little bit and wait at the post. So you proceed on down to the cargo transporter, which we do not have a set for as of yet, and you are in with a just a couple minutes to get down through the gangways and try to amble around as quietly as possible. You enter you go down to the subdeck where, sorry, just double checking my notes on this. Okay, you enter the cargo bay where one of the cargo transporters is. You do see there is another Imperial soldier in the same room who glances to you for a moment, then just waves you off like, bah, you're not worth his time.
Do I want to tell him he's needed in the main transport room?
That's up to you.
Is he facing me or no?
He just seems to be running a scanner over the other contents of the cargo bay, probably making another sweep over your wares.
I kind of want to shoot him, like just real quick, just to get to my post.
Do what your character would do. Go for it.
Mm,
We're already in the thick of
okay.
it.
Yep.
Why not?
If you do that, that will be a control plus security roll. It will be a difficulty of 2, and I'm going to spend 1 point of threat to increase your complication range to 2.
Okay, control and security.
Indeed.
Mm.
And just for everyone else's benefit here, I'm going to switch this over to a theater of the mind setup. Since we don't have a cargo bay, but we are not the transporter room presently. There is just Croker amongst the cargo containers and a single set of objects. And oh dear, let's.
Mr. GM, please
Yes.
check the Twitch stream.
Do we have a bot? Oh
No.
All right. First off, no. You know the rules here, Tabak. There's absolutely no players spending channel points, no quatlus from the players in their own game to affect the difficulty.
You will let us die with honor, Captain.
Okay, then you got it. All right, then toss that over to the Aegis crew for their next game.
Yeah. No, I'm not sowing peace for you. Instead, I am taking 2 points of threat.
No!
Oh, wait a minute. Gosh damn it, no!
Captain, you've killed us!
Yes, I have.
You try to mess with the rules of the universe, and the universe fights
I
back.
didn't know we couldn't do it. That's on me.
I'm pretty sure I announced that last time.
You noted it several times.
I may not have been paying attention.
Well, there you go. So in any case, the worst part of it is that your efforts to interfere with the universe were ultimately unnecessary because Croker did indeed succeed without any amendment to the difficulty. Croker managed to roll 3 successes, beating it by 1 success and earning you back a point of momentum. Croker, would I be correct to presume that you are firing a lethal shot on this officer?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Croker continues with his reign of bodies.
Very well.
Let them hit the floor.
Yes, let the bodies hit the floor.
Hey, it's raining men and let the bodies hit the floor is about the same incident, but from 2 different points of view.
And that is...
Okay.
Oh, my God.
And it occurs to me I have not fixed Croker's sheet whatsoever, so there is a lot of stuff missing. Let me give you a disruptor pistol real quick. There was, as some of you who play Star Trek Adventures using Roll20 know, there was an update to the character sheets recently, which does have some advantages for quality of life purposes. However, the transition was a bit it didn't quite work as smoothly, and thus there's been a lot of fixing necessary for the characters, or the sheets are not entirely, not all of them have been fixed to this point. So I have, however, given you a disruptor pistol, so you may go ahead and roll damage for that. Ray?
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry.
That's quite all right. That is 2 points of or 2 points of damage there. Do you want to spend momentum in any way we before we resolve that?
You should
Mm.
spend a momentum to re-roll those 3 zeros.
Yes, you
I
should.
suppose I will do that. Under the advice of my counsel, I will go ahead and do that.
Okay, just go to the challenge dice section, set the dice to 3, and give it a roll there, and I will apply the effects as necessary.
Okay, 3, enter.
Okay, that
Not great.
is now 4 points of damage plus an effect which has vicious one, so that will do 5 points. Before we resolve this, is there anything else you wanted to do here?
I need everyone to know Crooker is while he is taking no shit today because he heard some very suspicious grunts. He only caught the tail end of that conversation. He is going to protect his honey bear as best as he can. He is shaking like a leaf. So I don't know. He's just having a. He takes a minute, breathes in, walks over to the panel.
Oh, well, okay. So
I don't think he's dead yet.
He's not dead yet, by the way.
Oh, well then he takes a breath. Does he? I guess he doesn't notice that he's not dead. That is how fucking stupid Croker is.
Let's resolve this. I presume is Croker just like deliberately taking aim, firing, and then trying to walk away, or does he pass him and like try to pull like the casual walk past, shoot to the side, hope that killed him, and go about his work?
It is definitely he's walking and he. You know that scene in Firefly whenever Captain Reynolds is walking up the lift gate and he shoots the dude and keeps walking? That's what Croker was going for. He absolutely failed, but that's what he was going for.
Well, to be fair, Croker did a very good bit of damage there. 5 points of stress would have been enough to deal an injury. However, this man is wearing armor, which even at point blank range does enough to just absorb a bit. So that man is going down for a moment. And you are walking towards the computer panel. The first you hear from behind you, "Oh, shit, girls! The crew is treacherous! I have been struck!" And you look behind to see the man, a large burning gap in his like the back of his armor, and bad singes along his back, struggling to reach for a disruptor pistol. He is
Shoot him again.
All right, we're gonna shoot, aim for the head this time, which because apparently we didn't this last time.
Well, he had one resistance because he's an armored Klingon soldier.
Disgusting. All right. I think Betty is gonna roll this time, even though it's the same person, kind of.
Yep. Betty manifests and just keeps pulling the trigger.
Betty manifests. You can't finish a single thing right. Oh my god, give me the gun.
The arm janks about.
So, do you want me to roll again?
Give me another control and security roll, please.
I have a question.
Okay.
Would the guy be a little bit surprised and shocked when all of a sudden this Klingon warrior is overlaid by a holographic 1950s human woman?
Probably, but he's also in a lot of pain right now. So he's just trying to take a shot anyway. And this time Betty rather rolls another 3 successes. So that's one more point of momentum back to you. Go ahead and roll damage for that pistol. Let's see if Betty's a little more vicious. Ooh, she is vicious. That is 4 points plus 4 points of stress plus the vicious one effect. So once again, you are starting with 5 points of damage. There is still armor there that is capable of resisting that just ever so slightly.
How
Is it
many
one?
times we
Is
gotta
it
shoot this guy?
is it 1 point of momentum for every 2 resistance ignored?
You could do it to ignore the resistance. You could add bonus damage. Um,
How
you
much bonus damage can we get per momentum?
One,
One
but
per.
you only you Betty slash Croker they're doing 4 points of damage or like with this, so you only need one more to score that injury.
Okay, so
All right,
spend the momentum
that one
and
momentum.
get another point of damage.
Okay.
Ding, dong,
Okay.
Bing bong.
ding dong.
And I have to ask Betty, was that lethal shots you were taking? Of course.
Oh, Betty is always lethal. That woman
Spectacular.
is dressed to kill.
All right, the GM takes a point of threat as Betty just keeps pulling the trigger, sending disruptor bolt after bolt into this hapless soldier. Each one colliding with his chest with his helmet, and after a couple of shots, the energy field around him just builds, and finally is just outright vaporized.
Fort.
And with that, Croker, you step over to the transporter control.
Hmm. Can Betty hail the captain?
Absolutely.
Honey buns, they're on to us. Croker didn't land the first blow very well, so
Shut up.
a little bit of a
Shut up.
transmission got out.
Shut up. Get them out of and get the idiots out of engineering.
You're so mean. I don't know why we like this. And anyway, she disappears. All right. What do I need to roll for that?
This will be control and engineering with a difficulty of 3 here. Usually beaming from one not a pad to another not a pad requires a difficulty of 4, but because you are engaging transporters to just beam them out, you don't really care where, so long as it's out in space. I'm making it a little easy for you.
You don't
Would you
really
like a
have
momentum?
Bless your heart.
Would you like a momentum for a third die?
please.
I
The-
would love one, please.
The Yon will also assist here, this time with a control rather engineering and I believe it's sensors and engineering for the ship.
Sensors,
All right, so
engineering.
And
increase that
Croker
to
will roll
3.
control and engineering. Okay. And we're going to let this play out in part while the scene is going. A couple of the engineers are just continuing to work here, Raldar. When you are conversing with the chief engineer, I believe we established his name. Was it? I think it was Kenach. Oh, no, that's different. That's I don't recall the exact name of the engineer from last time. Let me go back.
I took a note.
You did. What did it say?
It was Sinqua. Fucking
What was that?
Taniqua, I think.
Oh, Taneka. I see. Fair enough. Oh, why?
I put it in the chat. Of House Hospital.
So I got a 3.
Yes. We're resolving that. Just right now, I figured that it made sense to set up a little bit of what is to is necessary to do a little bit to set up what happened next. So Taneha is with you, Raldar, a fellow engineering officer, technical officer who's withstood quite a bit and has been going over some of your supplies, your repair efforts. Uh, Honestly, in some ways, it is very much the impression of like game respecting game in this place. You must have had to tear out a good bit of the old engine grid, given the amount of time that, or rather, given the amount of wear from antimatter usage grades of that era.
Dared, replaced, bent, whatever I had to do.
I'm honestly surprised you aren't leaking plasma and deuterium all over the place.
Well, this is when we're looking nice.
Yes, I suppose so. I cannot help but acknowledge competent work when I see it. I don't suppose you've had any consideration of going back into the service at all.
I'm not allowed back into the service. I was discharged as part of a duel.
So, frustrating as the day when cast aside. He thinks very hard about what he's going to say next because I'm sure beneath the helmet, given your usual experience, Raldar, it's somewhere between acknowledging your skill and alluding to you in less flattering specious terms.
Classic.
And a useful asset such as yourself. At that moment, the comm line from his wristband goes over. Well, Senior Lieutenant, Chikros, go ahead. Oh, we are betrayed. Consider yourself ready for alert. He looks around at the situation, his eyes very slightly maybe catching a bit of light off of the reactor. Tikros, emergency transport. And they are going to attempt a beam out of their own right as the gold and orange hues of a transporter beam start to fall around the three of them. So let's see if they can make a roll here to successfully escape. I'm going to spend 1 point of threat in order to buy one additional die. Oh dear. Well, those are red colored, but they are not actually complications. That is a 13, 11, and 12 there, which I will go back to illustrate. There'd be no sense in there being a red one now, would there? But let's see. Can the ship get lucky? No. Oh, that's 17. There's the vague impression of some word calling out, it's like, trying to transport a beam interference, and he just looks to you, like eyes catching you through. I can't remember. Does Raldar have the same sort of like eye shields that give it the compound effect, or does he?
He does not.
Okay. He just looks into your reptilian eyes. And he dematerializes before he can finish. But yeah, something has happened on the ship, likely tied to the captain's desire to go to warp as the 3 Klingon Imperial officers in the room dematerialize before you.
I see. I see. Interesting.
Yeah, not the most honorable tactic, but I guess a tactic.
Really sad part is because we use the cargo transporter, which doesn't have the right resolution for live targets, they're dead anyway, no matter where they go.
They would at least probably have some sort of leftover genetic damage that a medical officer might have needed to tackle. And that's basically, I believe that you had to do the same for woe at one point, if memory serves.
Yeah, but we upped the resolution for that one shot.
A fair point. So, with that,
Look, just because some things are slightly to the left than they should be doesn't mean that, something went wrong.
Okay.
indeed.
Question, Mr. GM, for timing.
Yep.
Has Woe made it to go do what I needed her to do before they emergency transport it out?
I think that woe would have been able to. Well, they tried to engage the emergency transporters, but woe has probably already made it to. I forget, where were you sending her?
I wanted her to make sure the door to the transporter room was locked and to dump anesthetine gas in there and knock them all out.
Oh. We'll say for our purposes that woe has acquired the canister. For. So far as that measure goes, you probably had to run down to sickbay real quick, just because I think that a lot of. I don't think anesthecine would be outside of outside of a place like the medical bay for the most part, unless you guys are running the ship profoundly differently or whatever its equivalent. But yeah, woe is probably near whatever life support node there is in order to affix the gas.
Okay.
However, it is probably at the. Oh, I don't believe Croker locked the door on his way out.
He did not.
Oh, you caught it.
Yeah. So, woe, just outside those quarters, or rather the transporter room, you see that there are a handful of Klingons, a dozen officers beginning to make their
Dozen?
way out, or half a dozen rather.
Thank you.
Yep, pistols and blades at the ready, searching about. There are also calls out from the senior officers to the other Klingons that were also on this deck, because there were two that were near the crew quarters, specifically by Junior and Derkir's quarters. You hear a very loud, "Proceed down the ship! We are betrayed!"
All right. Okay, so she's around the corner. There's 8 of them in the hall or the corridor.
Yep.
All right. She bites the canisters and throws them down the hall.
Fair enough. I think that in order to resist those effects for just a little bit of time, because this is going to be enough to knock everyone out, give me, I guess, first just to reflect the, well, no, I'll say damaging the seals enough. Let's call it fitness and medicine, and I'm just going to say this is a maxed out difficulty 5 task.
Really?
Yep.
Fine. I'm gonna use a focus.
Yeah.
Or a point of momentum, you mean?
Also that, yes.
I was going to say, what focus would you want to apply to this?
I'd say damage control.
Yeah, not quite. We're looking more for
Oh,
some
come
sort of
on.
endurance or physiological resistance, or even if there is a talent relevant to that, which, if you click on your talents, they actually should open up now to where you can look a little closer at what they have to say.
Let's see. I don't think I have anything except for freaking vertical bracing. +2 to fitness tests involving endurance. Ah!
I will go ahead. I'm going to bump up your fitness score, and you may give me a fitness and medicine roll with that modification. And take the point of momentum if you want. The Klingons are going to be rolling, or they're going to be rolling as a squad, so they will have a bonus third die to reflect that there are a dozen of them.
Am I using the momentum to buy another die, or am I using it for an auto crit?
Well, that would determination is what gives you the automatic critical success. If you were wanting to do that, then you are welcome to it as well. The momentum was just if you wanted to do another die.
Well, I don't want to burn a determination this early. I only have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one it's one per session.
Yeah.
All right.
To be fair, this is just about how quickly do you fall unconscious, and do you maybe like have enough time to do one thing before the gas takes you out as well.
Okay, I'm just gonna buy another die. I'm probably not gonna be able to do anything else but this.
Fair enough.
Oh God, no! Why did I buy another die?
You. Oh dear. Let me take a closer look at that. That is a natural 20 there, so that is a complication on that roll. The question, as always,
I
now
want
becomes
narrative. I want narrative.
very good.
I never want threat.
Very good. So, well, you get like a face full of the gas the moment that you crack the seal, and it's less of a hard roll so much as it is a longer, like a like you lose grasp of that because you take in a good bit of that, and you get the whippet effect, honestly. Like things are really pleasant for a moment, then it's like, oh wait a minute, and down you go.
Oh, my stupid big old girl.
Yep.
She can't do nothing right recently.
Yep. Unfortunately, some of that is going to come back to you in just a moment because that clattering can be heard throughout the nearby deck. So we'll just see how that plays out here in a moment. Let's go. I guess over to the bridge would be the next logical place to stop by. Captain, are you still hanging about the? Well, no, you don't know. Well, wait, no. What's its face?
This was all almost simultaneous.
Yep.
All of this is happening.
Yep. So you got word very shortly afterwards that Croker had, or rather, the Betty form had informed you of the situation. The people on the bridge had no such notice as yeah, anyone that did watch Picard might remember in season 4 a very angry starship.
Wait. Season 4 of Picard?
Season 3, hey, don't shame me for not paying attention to linear time. How dare you? There was coincidentally a very angry.
Are you God at the center of the universe, center of the galaxy, or are you a prophet? Come on now.
Don't question the nature of your GM.
Never.
You won't like what you find. Yeah. But in this case, I do rather think that this photo is still quite appropriate for the angry starship look. If you imagine that the torpedo tubes beginning to glow uh, as as a word passes to that ship as well, or passes to the Chikros from their officers. Let's see. Uh, Let me move us back to the bridge for just one moment. Vopri, glancing from his sensor console, says, I, I, I believe that they are charging their weapons, and uh, I think that I'm beginning to think that we have a problem as a. You there, Joe? You might be muted.
Yep. Captain said go, so let's get the heck out of there.
All right. In that case, you punch it up to maximum warp. That'll be control plus con with an assist from the ship's con and engines. And this will cost you points of power in order to get up to maximum warp. I actually think it is equivalent to the warp factor that you want to engage. So,
all right. I'm assuming piloting or shipboard tactical systems would work.
That will definitely work.
The ship actually did something?
The ship did something, yes.
The ship got a
Whoa.
single success. The alleged car managed to do it. But yeah, the yawn will engage to warp 7. That will expend all but one of your power.
How much momentum do we get?
That will give you back 3 points of momentum, however.
Yan.
So
one power, you said?
yes, you are down to a single point of power as the yawn turns to port very quickly and engages its warp drive. The deck plates take on a rattle as that you haven't heard them give out before, as the ship is you've not given it this fast of a you've not given it a terribly fast test before.
So it's a little like a Mustang leaving a car show. It squirrels the tail around a little bit, but it takes off fairly straight.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And then, meanwhile, let's see.
Okay, I want to get to the bridge.
Okay.
So I'm gonna open the mess
No,
hall.
we turned the inertial dampeners off, so everybody's piled against the wall.
No.
Everybody's flattened if you turned off those.
Yeah, they'd be
turned
paste.
We'd be jelly. Especially going from
I guess this is the ship of the good captain, Isaac now.
So I'm gonna open the mess hall doors and notice the stench of the anesthetine gas. Hopefully.
You might get a slight hint of it. However, beforehand, because of the pacing at which this is happening, the first actual sign of anything going wrong would actually be, let's see here. Just one moment. And so it would be the disruptor bolt that immediately soars past your head, mere centimeters away, such that you probably feel a little cooked from it. As a couple soldiers realized what happened and started just making a bolt for the lower decks.
Oh, they got out of the gas plume.
Yes, the complication was such that there was just enough time apparently for at least a couple of soldiers to make it away, and I imagine the anesthetine gas is concentrated enough that any exposed section or deck is probably going to get enough of a dose to be a problem, but it hasn't. Yeah, there is probably some time there's a little bit of time before that happens, and that puts you in mortal peril. So
right. All right. So they shoot. They missed. I ducked back. I call the bridge real quick, seal all the emergency bulkheads, and clear the atmosphere of the anesthetine gas.
I am engaging life support function now. Dekoth
and the bulkheads.
that bulkheads. Sorry, bulkheads. Uh, so just to clarify, you were having him seal all bulkheads, like in the afflicted areas.
No, I didn't even give him time to think about it. Just
Oh,
close them all and clean out the atmosphere. Don't
okay.
empty the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's not what I said. I did specify to clean out the anesthetine gas.
Copy that. There no remove the plank mistake here.
Mistake. Uh-huh.
Yes, yes. Of course. Of course that's Riker's quote unquote mistake. Um, anyway, so yeah, the bulkhead doors around you begin to seal up as more disruptor bolts clatter against them, and the atmospheric systems begin to process the anesthetine, um, giving you a moment of respite as you, Dekoff, and Kresic amble out of the mess hall and into the corridor, the main deck.
Mm-hmm. Now, when of course the bulkheads close, it also means the gangways would shut.
Yes.
So, and if the elevator won't function,
Yep.
and there's probably seeing as we're in the main corridor that goes all the way through the ship, I can't get to the bridge either.
Probably not.
Right.
You can, however, tell at this point, based on the rattling of the deck plates, the sounds of like power coursing through the EPS grid, that the vessel has gone to warp. You may be the ship's captain, but you were its engineer first, and you know when the ship is on the run and really
Yep.
pushing its engines hard to run.
Yeah. So I call up Opry. Are they following?
Confirmed, Captain. The the Chikros has engaged course to match their. They may well even be able to close the distance slightly. These
All right.
This cruiser seems to be have exceptional acceleration capabilities.
No doubt on that. Raldar,
Yep.
engine
Yeah.
room is clear, correct?
Yeah, everyone who was here got transported out.
Good. I'm going to need you to vent some drive plasma, some warp plasma. They're going to run into it, and it'll knock them out of warp.
All right.
I know we're
Got it.
barely containing the plasma as it is. Just need you to vent some to knock them out of warp.
All right. All right.
Okay. I will ask you for a daring and engineering roll, and I'm going to call this. That will also be assisted by the ship with engines and engineering.
Would
And
Kelsa assist as well?
Kelshaw could also assist on this one.
And what is the difficulty?
Let's see. I was just double checking it because it's not a precise match, but I feel like a rough analog actually might come from the principle behind mine laying, essentially. So I was looking to see in the Utopia Planitia book, which for those unfamiliar, Star Trek or Modiphius, the creators of the 2D20 system and the Star Trek Adventures engine in particular, uh, they have made they released a Utopia Planitia booklet, which not only contains the wide array of Starfleet vessels, I would say a pretty well near comprehensive level, it also has varying custom rules so that you can build many of your own ships from different talents, different eras of technology, and in this particular case, different rules for tactical situations, weapons, and the like. So it is for that reason. Let's see, mines that operates at let's see, just double checking this. I am going to call this a difficulty of Let's call this a difficulty of 2. No, well, let's call this a difficulty of 3. I feel like we have ample assistance on this, so and this is a risky maneuver as well.
The ship already got one.
Yep.
All you gotta do is get one.
What do you want me to
Well,
assist
Or
with?
2 on that.
Two. Okay.
The assist is also going to be daring and engineering.
Would her jury rigging focus apply?
That's a good point.
I don't think it would quite work in this case.
What about irrigation technology, huh?
Hey, wait a minute, that might work.
That was sincerely tempting, but I don't think you want plasma that widespread. Oh, you know, I would accept it with a metaphor, I suppose.
A metaphor?
It was a 10 anyway, so that won't. A focus isn't going to matter.
Well,
You want any dice, Roldar?
probably, we'd probably get one extra one, and we might get some extra momentum. Might help.
Good night.
We get three natural 20s. Okay.
Let's go.
Yo.
Instead, you get a 14, a 5, and an 11, it looks like. So that will, that's going to be enough with 5 successes. That will give you back the 2 momentum, refill your pool. The Yon will drop warp plasma from its from the propulsion deck, and it will catch it'll like seconds later it will be caught by the shields of the Chikros, disrupting its warp bubble and forcing a temporary reduction in speed.
Could we spend 2 momentum to create an advantage?
I am receptive to hearing what your advantage is. Go right
What do
ahead.
you
So the ship already has engine problems, right?
Yes.
Could we potentially, this warp plasma coming through and disrupting the warp bubble, also like
Cause a breach?
Maybe a breach of the engines in particular? Because it's already suffering from sadness?
Sadness.
I think that would be possible. So that, I will go ahead and mark that as an impact. Better yet, I will take this advantage, and I can assure you that there will at least be an impact to the ship's engines for now.
Excellent.
Let's see. So they had to expend. So just running some quick math. All right. So yes, Vopri will report back on the bridge. Allow me to move the token back around. He'll just press the intercom. I have analysis. The Chikros has lost warp propulsion, or it is no longer pursuing. The plasma has disrupted their field for the time being.
Good. Azek, drop us down to warp 6. We're straining the engines really bad.
All right, Captain.
Vopri, the other Klingon officers who are still conscious and were just shooting at me down here in the main corridor, vent the atmosphere in the section that they're in.
Okay. Deadlier words never said.
Oh, okay.
Poor Vopri. Vopri's committed so many war crimes today. He's a real Klingon now.
I do not wish to commit murder, but I guess today I am going to cut a bitch.
Yo, he's going crazy.
Yep. So let's see. Just to clarify, cutting the life support in the main deck locations where the handful of Klingons were.
The conscious Klingons.
Yep. So that will be. Now, just to clarify, is that all conscious Imperial soldiers on the ship?
They were the one. Wait,
Or just the ones that were. You just ordered the ones on the main deck. So
that's all I know about. I'm going under the assumption that the rest of them are asleep upstairs.
fair enough. Okay, I'll just have Vopri roll a. This will be a single D20. Or rather, no, not a single D20, but a single simple task. Control engineering. Remove the atmosphere in those sections. Yep, he meets the difficulty 1 task. The GM takes 3 points of threat to reflect the murders that he has just committed.
You know what? I don't think in a Klingon game we should be penalized that hard for killing people.
You
Here's the
know,
thing, though. He has to spend threat to try and kill us too, though. Like every lethal shot he takes at us costs a point of threat on his side.
And there's expressly a Klingon or a talent in the Klingon book to justify that this particular Klingon character no longer requires threat in order to attempt to inflict lethal injuries. So
then we're all going to have to pick that one up. Dang it.
You can try to persuade the players, but little baby man Vopri is never going to do that.
Of course not. Hey,
Little baby man Vopri already has it.
I have seen more death than you know.
I have seen things you people cannot understand.
Sad thing is, he probably has.
He caused it.
Just the flames burning against his black reflective eyes. So
oh my god.
beautiful.
All right. Are there any other conscious enemy Klingons on board the ship Vopri?
I detect one down in the subdeck cargo hold. They are attempting, I believe, to move towards the reactor room.
Is there anybody near? Is there any?
Can Zionol be down there?
Zionol could absolutely be down there. So we're going to let me just change the characters a little bit. But we are going to. I'm going to place us down in a very suspiciously similar looking hallway set to the one that we already had, and try to remember where I put the Klingon soldier tokens.
You just threw them in the trash. They're all dead.
I put
also, I think Zionol's sheet is kind of exploded.
Oh yeah, Zionol's sheet may not have been fixed. Let me go in there real quick. We'll tell you what. If you press the gear widget, you should be able to go and basically click to use the old settings for a lot of those. If there are any talents, focuses, or values that are immediately relevant to your situation. I'm so sorry. I have not had the opportunity to repair the supporting characters yet. But I could probably get in there too and get that, at least the old settings restored. Okay.
I don't think you understand. Zionol is a starship.
Oh, but of course.
No, literally. He has power shields and there we go.
Oh my god.
Okay, he's fixed.
Oh dear, oh dear. So let us go down into the bowels of the ship in the subdeck corridor. Where a single Imperial officer is running a disruptor at the ready, and they are moving with an urgency towards the deck, knowing that whatever else is going on, they can still give battle and do so to glorious effect if they make it down to the engine room in time. However, describe how circumstances intrude here. Better yet, if you'd like to give me a roll to stealth in some way, and then maybe describe how Zional happens upon the situation.
Absolutely. Let me give a roll to stealth.
Okay, let's call this daring and security. I would have accepted fitness too, but I
Excellent.
think daring is more appropriate.
Let's not use Kresic. Let me pull up Zion. Starship Zion. Oh, here we go.
Oh my. Oh dear.
You know,
This
that's not the best of rolls.
Yeah, that's a 19 and a 20. Incidentally, Rev, wouldn't you know it, this is Zional's first activation of the adventure, so you can
It
technically
is.
give him a talent, value, or focus. You still have room for all of those. Is there anything you would like to do before we get in too deep here?
I did not expect to get this far. Talent, value, or focus. He has a.
Yeah. So I mean, without any sort of spending, of course. Well,
Yeah,
actually, you do have, I suppose.
I do
Well,
have determination,
yeah.
but
I just don't know that that particular value is.
no, it's not. It's not that value is not really going to do much good.
Yeah. A different one, however, may be of service if you have a general idea for something.
No, I'm okay. I'll come up. I'll figure out a talent later. I'll add a
Very well.
talent to him.
Okay.
He's. So I'd imagine this might be where like some of his stuff that he brought on board might be kind of stored here and there.
Okay.
And so he's probably just there rearranging all the stuff that the Klingons just like completely tore through when they were searching through the ship.
Yep.
He's just standing there, just doing his little happy boy stuff.
Yep. You were maybe carting something that wasn't meant to be out in the or down in the cargo bay into the you were dragging that, you were about to get that moved around. So let me ask, for the complication, for that natural zero there, would you prefer to take that as narrative, or would you prefer to give the GM threat? You could also buy that off with momentum. You do have enough to spend two and remove the complication if you wish.
I'm okay to take a narrative complication.
Damn
Okay.
it.
So, you are in the process of moving whatever sort of transportation device you have along that. That's actually a good question. Tabak, would you have bought like grav lift type movers for the ship if he had something substantial enough to do that, or is this? Would you say that you think the yacht is staffed with more old-fashioned stuff? People are meant to lug things around.
Oh no, I'd have gotten anti-grav pallet jacks and all of that. It's a cargo ship. Work smarter, not harder.
Gotcha. Rev, give me one of Zional's luxury goods that he's been meaning to get out for some time, but had unfortunately misplaced until
So,
today.
so Zional had some actually like quality. He had some quality silks, Tholian silks, actually.
Ooh.
A couple bolts of Tholian silk that he had just privated away for his own stash. And quite frankly, he was worried that when these Klingon thugs boarded, they were going to try and steal his bolts of nice clothing materials, textiles. So he's kind of just been like walking this pallet around a few steps ahead of the Klingons the whole times, just to try and keep it out of their sight.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, you are maneuvering away, and you've decided at this point the cargo bay is just not a great place for it. Uh, you're pretty sure that like the ship is now jumping to high warp, and there's still a Klingon on board, so something must be going okay. You've managed to slip around like slip around some containers, and you think you're running around, and when the door opens, right as you are kind of giving a feel to one of the bits of silk that is like in the container, you hear the heavy clattering of boot prints, and sure enough, it's going to take the Imperial soldier there is going to see you, Zional, and they are going to take a shot at you.
Hello.
Unfortunately, with the complication there,
I know.
you automatically have the cover dice that comes from your container of silks. So,
Yes, I know. It's sad. But you know what? If it saves my life, he would not complain if it saved his life.
yep, yep. So let's take this roll just to see if they're firing at near point blank range, but just enough to where they aren't taking, say, disadvantage from, or like where it's more difficult for them to do so. So let's see. Control, security. They will take a shot. That is enough to uh, make their target. Roll for the disruptor pistol. See how that
You see,
damage
this is why I
goes.
saved the. This is why I saved the stuff because I was gonna fail this roll anyways.
Yep. 4, 5, 6, and that's actually 7 points of damage, which he's intending for it to be a. He's in fight or flight mode, so it's got to be a lethal hit. But I'm going to give you that your container of Tholian silks it is a nice chunky little thing. So Zional, go ahead and roll me 4 challenge dice, please. Only the best container to keep your silks
And
safe.
I would imagine that effects mean that the silks were destroyed, right?
Yes, you hit it right on the head. Oh dear. Well, the
Wow,
silks
that was rough.
that's pretty bad. You wanna spend a momentum to be able to re-roll that,
Yes, please.
I would love to.
or at least the zeros. Technically, I guess you can roll all 4 of them. However, you may run the risk of losing the 1 point you've already taken away. For those unable to listen at this point or unable to view it, that was 1 effect and 3 zeros, which would have only taken away 1 point. However, with a point of momentum spent to re-roll, that is now 3 effects and a 1 from that. So that will take off 4 points. The shot will go through the first end of the container, cut through, completely vaporize all of the silk contents, going out in a puff of smoke. Uh, the bolt, however, will not finish there. It will come out the other end, and it will graze your leg, dealing you 3 points of stress. So it still hurts like it still hurts like a son of a bitch, but you are not lethally injured against this soldier.
You're
Nay,
not.
this ne'er do well who has destroyed the fine things in life.
He's destroyed my stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
um. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to. It's just vaporized. I'm going to fall to the ground as if the pain of it has knocked me unconscious. And the moment he passes me, I'm going to throw one of my knives at him.
Ooh. Okay. This will be a knife thrown from technically from a prone position, so that'll be daring and security. Usually I wouldn't allow for this to happen, but I have an idea. Rather, Rev, than inducing any sort of difficulty increase from this, how would you like to give Zional a custom rule that befits his style of attack here, where he could use essentially the ability to play dead or strike from seemingly non-optimal circumstances in order to basically feign or create a stealth attack.
I am perfectly fine with that.
All right. So as they
assassination focus.
Absolutely. So he's going to start running past again, satisfied that he has disposed of this one of the sundry parts of Tabok's apparent menagerie. But you get the opportunity to roll on him with a control and security roll.
Control and security or daring and security?
You know, I know you're technically throwing the knife and that makes it ranged, but for the assassination here, I'm going to give you daring, in part because you are going through the stealth effect. That'd probably be most relevant to the whatever talent or special rule we come up with here.
Excellent.
So I'll allow it.
Can I spend my determination to get 2 free successes on this for my value? My value being a word. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please. Make your argument.
My value being words and knives can both cut a deal. He took my goods. So I am just making sure that the deal is fulfilled. He took my goods, I take his life. It's a business transaction.
I'll accept that logic. So you gain the automatic critical success. I think that the difficulty will still remain 2, so that at least fulfills that. Zional, you may take a roll now. And that is 2 successes, which will go over what you need. And then, let's see, do you still have the knives there? Did those get lost with the transfer?
My blades are still there.
Okay.
Yes, they're good. Deadly, hidden. Do knives have vicious? They do have vicious.
They do have vicious 1, yes. Switch them to ranged for a moment. Give that a roll, please, for damage purposes. Okay. Well, those are 2 effects, which will give you 2 base points of damage, plus an additional 2 points to reflect the vicious. Any momentum spends you want to make there?
Spending on the momentum to reroll those 0?
Yep.
Go for it. Go for it.
So that is now up to 6 points, which since there's a point of they have armor for a point of resistance, so that will still be 5, which is enough for, I presume, a lethal injury.
Yes, this was lethal. He vaporized my silks.
Very good.
He destroyed his underwear. Now he has.
Yep, he has to pay.
Suffer.
Yep. The knife flies out in a perfect arc, but with such speed as to be scarcely reflect the relative darkness of the red and yellows, flying perfectly past the deck plating, avoiding the catch while landing perfectly right beneath the helm, directly into the back of the neck, and the cutting through not 1 but 2, cutting through the Klingon's spine and severing primary and redundant neural links there, or nervous system. It's a Koha, so he doesn't have that type of redundancy. There's no Bracklull here. So he will fall dead to the ground.
I will immediately comms the captain. Captain.
What?
I hope you don't mind. I may have had a disagreement with one of our guests.
Is he dead?
Probably.
Good. Make sure he is. Where are you?
Near the reactor core. He seemed to be heading there in a hurry.
Good. Make sure he's dead.
Croker also comes out into the hallway, and you see Zionel. How would you prefer to do a coup de grace here?
I'm just grabbing out my assortment of knives and just planting them one by one into this Klingon.
Yep.
Slowly, just finding the right spot and slowly.
Yep, just to make sure.
Every
Just to
dent
make
in the
sure.
armor. Yep. Okay, so how, Croker, you're coming out of the cargo bay with content that you've done the transporter work there. When you see Zionel carving into this Klingon like a targ roast.
This my silks. This. I can't even fit this armor.
You there, Ray?
No, left.
Ray left.
Oh no, I missed that. Oh, well then Croker will just say, "Oh, howdy doody there. Do you need another knife? I have another knife."
Sure.
I'll just hand over a diktak and just like, all right, you have a good one. You just get that back to me when you can.
Yeah, I don't like Klingon knives anyways. I'll get it back to you.
And Croker will just make best speed back to the lift.
It's gonna be a fortune to get me more.
Yeah, but I haven't given the order to open the bulkheads, so.
Yep, he's going to be just awkwardly waiting for the lift, pushing the button, like, okay, anytime now.
And I hate to be this guy, but Zionel is the person who would loot the body.
Absolutely. Give me, I guess, I will allow insight and a discipline of your choice. Depending on what you roll, I will allow you to pick up some gear with that regard.
I would say, since this guy was a soldier, I would be looking for military grade equipment. So I would say insight and security.
Okay.
Equipment requisition?
I will allow you to apply that. Some might say it's loose, but it is definitely the one of the ways Zionel has probably done it in the past. In this particular case, Zionel, you very quickly find the Klingon was carrying a disruptor pistol. There's a mek'leth, a diktak, no particular house insignia, so probably just a low-ranking soldier who was in the service for basically probably what limited honor and glory he could achieve, such that that matters. You find what appears to be some sort of prod or electrical stick-like implement, probably one of those pain sticks the Klingons are so keen on, and you realize that it didn't initially catch correctly, but well, you've kind of escalated, but you didn't escalate to the level of like actually taking larger weapons on this case. So I'm just going to say a batleth, the diktak, and a disruptor pistol are what you acquire. There's probably the other gear are probably there's some use to that. It's like standard equipment, like a wrist comms and maybe a data pad just to throw in there. I'll also let you take a momentum to reflect your successes there.
I'll load him on the cart. Walk towards the bulkhead. Just stand there, waiting. Can I interest you in a batleth?
Oh, I, I couldn't take it secondhand. Have you ever tried? You should definitely talk to what's his face, the lizard man. Not the doctor, the engineer. I'm sure he'd like a batleth.
Oh well, I shall. I'm sure we can figure out a mutually beneficial agreement.
Yeah.
So in this time, sorry, I'm going to. I'm going to.
No, no. It's time to high time to do
Yeah,
that.
it's time to move scenes.
Okay, moving along. Check with Vopri. Are there any other of these other Klingons still walking around?
Internal sensors confirm. Captain, the atmosphere is atmospheric regulation complete. It seems well, first off, all no conscious Klingon life signs are confirmed. Unconscious ones on the main deck. It appears 3 of them remain on on the crew deck, along with Woe and all other Imperial soldier life signs are terminated.
All right. Open up the bulkheads. Push the button for general call out to the rest of the ship. If there are any other Imperial Klingons laying around on the deck, dispose of them.
Oh,
Attention, crew.
Yep. So mere moments later, as the gears open, uh, the bulkheads begin to clear, and you are free to make your way to the bridge. Tabak, you step on alongside Dakoth. Kresic, would you also be bound to the bridge, or are you preferring sick bay?
My work here is finished.
Copy that. So then you enter the bridge. You and Dakoth enter the bridge, where Azek, Bahan, and Vopri are presently on station. And you can now freely move your token, make your way um, to the captain's chair and the comms button. Let you do that at will there. There you go.
There's a comms button.
Yeah, I'm sure your chair has.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about in roll 20. Yeah. So push the button. Captain to crew. If there are any other Imperial Klingons, dispose of them. And then give me status reports on everyone. As it get us there.
Okay. Yeah.
Take us into that nebula. And then once we get in there, and we're going to have to shut down, make sure they can't find us.
All right, Captain.
Bahan, so as a skilled navigator, this is going to bring you into this. Sorry, we haven't gotten you a bit more sooner here, there, Cheesy, but
All good.
yeah. The nebula is going to be fairly treacherous, so you suspect. Well, if you would like to get the opportunity to chart a course, then or like create a more ideal insertion point, I will give you a reason plus con roll with somebody assisting with the ship's sensors and con.
May I use my astrophysics focus?
Absolutely, that would apply in this situation. And let's see, just refreshing myself here.
Nope.
You got no idea. You're just you're running off an adrenaline high, and you're just like, well, in we go. Suffice to say, you are very close. I guess while that's happening, other stations will report that the remaining Klingons or rather, no one's left alive save for the Klingons on the crew deck. I don't know who's set about responding to that, but who's
Kresic will get up to the crew deck eventually because that's where sickbay is.
True.
Yeah. Kresick's not a murderer, though. He kills, but he's not a murderer. There's a slight difference.
Yep.
Well, the order has been given to get rid of them.
Yep. Dakoth will simply say, Captain, we are not being pursued. permission to tend to your enemies.
Yes.
For your glory, Captain, and he will salute you. Um, and
And I muttered to myself, that guy's got to loosen up.
Yep. Yep. Dekoth will go about commit 3 more murders, and the GM will take the corresponding threat.
Okay.
So, yeah. You will be set to arrive in the nebula very shortly, so is there anything anyone would want to do beforehand? Other questions you'd want to put in, or shall we just cut on ahead?
Permission to... Oh, go ahead.
I'd have Vopri scan the nebula.
Okay. Vopri could do that. What were you saying there, Cheesy?
I'm going to turn to Captain Tabok. Captain Tabok, permission to drink freely now that combat is over?
No.
Damn it. Goes back to his computers, grumbling.
Oh. Let's see.
Azek, slow us down to impulse before we hit that wall of gas. We do not want to hit that at warp.
Standard protocol, sir. Aye, aye.
Captain, the approaching nebula, it appears to be quite full of, well, obviously numerous concentrations of high levels of hydrogen and other basic star-forming compounds. It seems there are high concentrations of ionized oxygen in significant fashion, polycyclical aromatic hydrocarbons as well, grains that will significant quantities of small granular matter that even at impulse may pose some difficulties. And
Once we get in, we're gonna have to slow to thrusters only.
So,
and what can we do, Mr. GM, about regenerating some of that power?
That will be a task for Raldor in order to start spending the...
Getting us some power.
Yep. So,
let's see. Engineering. Yep. Power management.
Yep. There should be a power management task that you have. So just to...
All right. Yeah.
Just to weave the narrative a bit before you start regenerating the power you have there, Vopri continues on. And additionally, the significant stellar discharge and particulate matter, ionized compounds, all will pose difficulties nullifying some of our sensor capability. It will be very difficult to see.
It'll be difficult for them to see us as well.
Indeed, Captain. And Azek, Bahan, your readouts are showing that the nebula is rapidly approaching on the forward sensors.
Bring her on down to impulse.
Okay. I'll let that control and con reflect it that you made there earlier. And really there's no need for the roll, but it is a great, bright green, sprawling sort of mass ahead of you as impulse engines begin to take you in. The nebular perimeter, when you make contact, gives you quite a bit of a bump as the deflector tries its best, but it's a bit tricky to there's still a bit of a bump that dampeners can't fully compensate for.
Turn off the drive. We'll just coast in.
Alright, Captain.
It is also probably wise to do that, as you see the impulse manifolds are starting to show, spit out confusing and probably slightly concerning alerts of trying to cope with the particulate. Obviously, I've lost my train of thought there. Never mind. Um, but yeah, with the dissipating impulse field that like pushed you forward, it gives you a bit of acceleration through, but eventually the even that wears off. Drag begins to accrue, and you find yourself very deep in a green nebula. The vague impressions of stars all about you, and the yawn scarcely visible through the dense layers here. We have come to all stop.
That much friction.
This is probably this is probably a few minutes there, but yes,
Okay.
there's a considerable the between the particulate matter, the like the dent like a lot of other forces at work here starts causing issues and battering the ship about a little bit. Not so much that you're going to get hit by any sort of discharge, but it's causing the yawn to lose speed a little bit faster than expected.
So we've come to a halt. Zionol,
Yes, Captain.
I'm assuming you stripped everything useful off of the corpses.
Working on it. There's a few more corpses than I was expecting.
Fine. When you're done, get rid of the meat. Dump it in
Feed
the
it the
airlock.
junior.
I was gonna
No.
ask, what did you want me to do with it? Not Junior?
No, not Junior. Just throw them in the airlock and dispose of them.
Very well.
Raldar,
Yep. Yes, sir.
we're going to need to rig for running in this nebula. There's a high degree of particulate matter that's going to foul up everything with the impulse manifolds. Even with the gravitic impellers, we're going to be in trouble. So
Well,
we're
I know
going to
that.
need to deal with that. Come up with some ideas. You're the one looking at the panels. I'll come down and we can have a conference later.
All right. I'm gonna try and get our power situation dealt with until then.
Please do. We're going to need that. Kresic, were any of our people wounded that you are aware of?
Kressik's just carrying in the unconscious Woe, who's like snoring at this point.
Dragging her by her leg, yes.
Yeah.
It seems that Excuse me. Sorry. Let me get back into Kresic. Sorry.
Yep. Fair enough.
Wrong character. Real quick. Woe knocked herself out with the gas. Zionol got shot in the leg. Otherwise, somehow, no one of our crew died.
That's amazing.
Captain,
Yes.
are we criminals against the Klingon Empire?
I don't know yet.
I don't want to be wanted by another government.
There's a story behind that we'll get to later. I don't know yet. Right now, I have to make sure that we can stay alive.
Understood.
Get Woe awake, or stow Woe, and help Zionol get the corpses into the airlock, if you would please, Doctor.
Very well.
And then tend to Zionol. Get Woe awake shortly after that, if you would.
I can do that, Captain. Kresic out.
Did we sustain any damage Vopri when we hit the nebula?
Deflectors and deflector shields and structural integrity has managed to absorb that. However, we are shields are presently accruing a noticeable amount of ionic particles. If we leave them raised, it may draw attention to us, a risk to sensors. I do not believe the discharge would attract to the ship if we were to drop shields, but that
Then
does.
drop them. If they come in, they'll have the same problem.
Oh, okay. And
How far can we see?
I only have certain sensor range at approximately 30,000 kilometers.
Telecams?
15,000 kilograms.
All right.
Oh,
Is fire control affected within that 15,000 kilograms?
fire control at that point makes weapons targeting, I would suspect, are very difficult. Torpedoes would have extreme difficulty in tracking systems, and I suspect we might, even our disruptor cannons would suffer some increased damage, which is all GM speak to say that an engagement in this nebula is going to be exceptionally difficult should you find yourself in combat, such that even while you have the least penalty to attack with a close range weapon, which is the point where you'd best be able to see something, you would probably still suffer an increase in difficulty by 1 due to reflect nebular interference.
Right. Are there any currents in the nebular material?
I believe there may be some gravitational streams, some things influenced from nearby forming stars and concentrations of hydrogen. Uh,
Okay, so we're actually in an active stellar nursery.
it would appear some of this nebula is active, but we are not in close proximity to them. It would take some time at even partial impulse to reach that zone, but we feel the effects of it.
All right. Mr. GM, Bahan is our other weapons guy, correct?
Bahan is more built towards science and con. At least
So
if
then,
memory serves. Cheesy,
it's
you're in that one, aren't you?
Science, con, and security are the big ones. Science being 4 and con and security being 3.
Okay, so Bahan could man weapons quite
okay,
easily.
but it's Dakoth. Our weapons people are Dakoth and Woe.
Otherwise, yes.
Otherwise, all right. Well, when Dakoth is done, he's done. He ran out and killed the dead guy.
He's gleefully going about and cruelly cutting them up with much less elegance than Zional is.
All he needed was one stab into the brain pan, but whatever makes him happy. I'm gonna need to go to work with Woe and with the Koth. I want to rig some photon torpedoes with proximity fuses and use them as mines.
Ralda, you're gonna get your mine wish, aren't you? You're gonna get your proper
Yes.
explosives.
Yes. Bombs.
Yeah.
Rupees. Rope.
Rope.
I too am confused, but I'm just happy for you.
But wait, so I don't know though. It's 10:30. Is it? Are we good to stop here? This feels like a really good stopping point for the to be continued to come up across the screen.
I do think that is a very good idea. So, Captain, as you start dispersing orders among the crew in order to start regenerating what power needs, repaired and preparations for what you are sure will be the next inevitable phase of confrontation. For the battle was only but briefly joined, and even though you seem to have dealt them some stumbling blows, disoriented them with shock greater than you could have expected, the Empire is, and its ships, its crews, and above all its will is felt very far and wide, and it is deeply determined. And so it is with that we will go ahead and cut out for the week. So, yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for tonight's Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword. For those in the archive, this is where we are going to leave off. We hope that you enjoyed and that you join us again next time. If we run live next time we run live, it's typically Wednesdays at 8 p.m. So that's on twitch.tv GM in the Great Barrier. A link should be in the description. If you could give us a follow, feel free to check us out, then you are by all means invited to do so. We'd be happy to have you around. Until then, you folks all have a good night.